What's up, guys? This is Opho, and this is a rarely used match I had against Magnezone, or Amazon. That's what he calls himself in this, but probably because there's just not enough letters. But it turned out to be a pretty good game. I'm using a team I've used in previous rarely used matches I've posted, and it's probably my favorite RU team I've made. So without further ado, let's get right into it. So I decided to lead for my Torterra while he leads with the Magnezone. Now, normally this would be a pretty good matchup, but I don't know if he's HP Ice or not. So I do opt to switch out, not just to scout for that. And if he doesn't have that, he probably has HP Fire, which I don't want to take either. But he actually does decide to switch, as I switch into my Grumpig. Now this is a good match for me, Grumpig versus Weezing, but I know he's not going to want to stay in, so I do go back to my Torterra, and think he might want to go back into something. And he goes in this guy. That's pretty good a matchup because I can definitely set up my rocks as he goes back into his Weezing. So I guess predicting the Earthquake. I don't know. But I set up those rocks, which is really nice, and then I switch out and I go back into Grumpig, knowing that my Grumpig can take anything. Will it be Will-O-Wisp, because this is a rest talking Grumpig, or anything really. So now I know he's not going to want to stay in, to take a Psyshock. So I do switch out and go into my Aragog. Not sure what he's going to go into, but knowing that if it's a good matchup, I can set up a substitute. Now he does go back into this guy, and this is a good matchup for me because he can't really do much to me. So I do set up a sub, thinking he might want to switch, but instead he does set up Stealth Rocks, which, I've seen before on, whatever this thing's called. I can't remember what it's called. But I do go for Thunder here. I'm running Expert Belt, not Life Orb on this thing, so it's not going to do a super amount because that guy's probably pretty defensive, but he can't even break my sub. So I'm content to stay in here, and even if it takes a little bit, just, thunder him to death. But I do get a paralysis here, which doesn't really end up mattering, but he does miss on Meteor Mash, which means I'm going to keep my sub, and I'm going to take him out with a Thunder this turn with a critical hit. So there's a little bit of Hack Slayer, but I don't think it ends up mattering later on because I would have just set up a substitute if he hadn't missed that, and I think it would have just saved wasted a little bit more time. But now he goes to his Magneton to break my sub. He goes to Volt Switch, and seeing him outspeed, it's obvious that he is actually scuffed. So I don't see very many scuffed Magnetons, but I guess it works. He goes into his Trestle, and then after Stealth Rocks damage, I think he is actually going to die from a Thunder. So it was kind of a weird play, bringing him in. I guess he thought he could take it better. But, I mean, those guys tend to be more physically defensive, and that was a pretty powerful special hit. But, I stay in here because, I didn't know what he could do to me, but he does show Hidden Power Fire here, which means super effective, so I'm assuming it's fire. I mean, I don't know why he'd run, like, HP Rock or something. So, now I go into my Torterra, knowing that I want this thing gone because he can probably do a good amount to a good chunk of my team. So my plan was to take the Hidden Power Fire and then go for an Earthquake. And so I do go for Earthquake, and he switches into his Weezing, which, as all Weezings do, they have Levitate, so that doesn't affect him. And my two moves are Earthquake and what is it? I can't remember what it's called, Wood Hammer. And neither of those, one's resisted, one's immune, so I mean, it's not really gonna do that much. So I'm pretty much forced to switch out. Go to my Grumpig to absorb that Will-O-Wisp, and also obviously threaten him out with a Psychic, or a Psyshock, whatever. But I know he's gonna switch here, so I do go for a Calm Mind, because I don't know what he's gonna switch into, but I think the only guy on his team, I mean, he has a lot of special attackers, I've noticed. I think the only exception is Swellow, but I do go for a Calm Mind here. And he goes go into his Cryogonal, and because I do have Psyshock, which hits physical defenses, I actually will be able to take him out at pretty much any point. But I decide I want to get that burn off me, and I'm at about half health, so I just decide to go for rest right now. As he goes for Rapid Spin, and he gets a crit, not that it matters, but I see Life Orb, which means I guess he's a slightly more offensive set with Rapid Spin, which is kind of weird. But he goes for Ice Beam, and I mean, I'm at +1 special defense, and that's resisted because of Thick Fat, so that's not going to do much. Unfortunately, I do get rest on my first sleep talk. I was really hoping for Psy Shock, or even Calm Mind would have been nice in that situation. But instead, I get rest, and so he switches out and he goes into his Swallow. Now, right here, I was just really hoping to get the Psy Shock, because if I did, I could just have taken out the Swallow right away, but instead I get Calm Mind, which sucks. But I know that I'm going to wake up next turn. So what I'm figuring is I'm going to go for, stay in, go for Psy Shock, and hope I can live with enough HP not to just take him out, but maybe even take another special hit from another Pokemon and then rest up. But unfortunately, that takes me out one hit. And so I knew that a Guts boosted for Stab Facade from a Swallow would do a lot, but I didn't expect a 1 KO. That's pretty crazy. But so I do bring in my what is this thing called? Something to threaten him out because I know I can probably outspeed, and I go for a banded Tail Slap with Skill Link, you know, so that's always hits 5 times, and that does a huge amount to a defensive Weezing. So I do go for it again, hoping it's going to take him out. Obviously, I don't want to get hit by a Will-O-Wisp, but I'm thinking I probably can. And while I know that crit did matter in the first turn, I mean, come on, that's 10 hits. It's bound to get at least 1 crit. So now he goes into his Magnezone, and I don't want to take a Thunderbolt or anything from this guy. So I go into my why can't I not remember what this guy's called? I just said his name earlier. Torterra to take the electric move, but he does go for Hidden Power Fire, which is a good play, but I still can take that. But I know he's going to outspeed, and that is looking like a 2 KO, so I don't want to stay in. So I do switch out, but he actually switches out too and goes into a Swallow. Not sure why. I mean, obviously he was predicting the Earthquake, but I mean, he could have just taken me out, so that's kind of weird. But I go into my Sharpedo now, and I do protect on the Swallow, so I will be able to outspeed the next turn after the speed boost. And obviously it does rack up some poison damage just to ensure the 1 KO from the Ice Fang. But he does realize he's going to be outsped, so he does go for Quick Attack, and that does way too much. I mean, that's crazy damage. But I am able to take him out with this Ice Fang, which means there goes Swallow, which is a really, really big threat. It's an NU, but it could easily be an RU, maybe even higher. It's just so fragile, that's why it's not up on higher tiers. But now he brings in his Magnezone, and I know I am probably faster because I have gotten 2 speed boosts, so even if he's scuffed, I should be faster. But regardless, I go for another Protect just to be sure. There's no real point of not. And then next turn I am able to take him out with 1 Waterfall. He was at pretty high health, but it doesn't really matter because he's obviously more speed invested and special attack invested than defense invested. So now he's down to his last Pokemon, which is his Cryogonal, and I'm obviously able just to outspeed him and take him out with a Waterfall. I mean, that's Cryogonal's defense is really pitiful, so that's an easy KO, and I do survive with 5, which does make that a 4-0. So it was, I mean, it wasn't that close of a game, but I still found it fun. I like RU as long as I don't bring Crest, which is now back and rarely used, which is kind of ridiculous. But it's still a fun game. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you next time.